Good morning, everyone. My name is Mitch Novick. We can all admit that public safety along Ocean Drive has deteriorated to an emergency crisis situation. In the last month, we've witnessed multiple shootings, mayhem, and brutal attacks on residents and visitors within our once thriving community. There was the May 6th knockout attack in front of Wet Willie's. There was the May 13th knockout attack in front of Mango's. And then there was the unprovoked, brutal knockout attack on a Miami Beach resident in front of the obnoxiously loud Clevelander bar. That victim required a hospital stay and is still recovering. Today, you commissioners all have an opportunity to make good. Your September decision to adopt the fundamentally flawed and ill-conceived 10-point plan, admittedly crafted by Mango's, the Clevelander, and their lobbyists, the same wasteful plan where you allocated $2 million public dollars towards additional police and security, the same foolish plan where you chose not to listen to your constituents, especially those South Point residents who voted by a margin of nearly 70% to 30% in support of the 2 a.m. rollback. That same South Point neighborhood where LaDarian Phillips was senselessly shot to death last week. Now is not the time for a do-over, as wanted by your greedy and selfish campaign contributors. It is now time for action. Even Police Chief Oates states, arrest reports indicate that much of the trouble on Ocean Drive happens between 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., and that shutting down liquor sales at 2 a.m. will reduce crime. Additionally, I believe it would not be unreasonable for you to order the removal of all tables, chairs, umbrellas, fans, lights, heaters, and other clutter from our Ocean Drive sidewalk, which these unscrupulous businesses treat as if it were entirely their own. No business should be relying on our sidewalks for survival. Customers should be invited inside their establishments, minimizing the unrelenting violent circus on the street. The city should immediately eliminate this program for 90 days and forgo all rent until public safety is restored. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, I'd like to call you up as the head law enforcement officer in our city. We'd like to hear from you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. I thought that in light of the discussions that have occurred in the last week, that it would be helpful to set the stage with the efforts of the city and the police department in the last 3 years with regard to Ocean Drive. When I came here 3 years ago, there were no special units dedicated to Ocean Drive. We had periodic, as has been the case for years, efforts with our crime suppression teams and our vice narcotics teams to do surges. But at the time I came here in June of 2014, there were no special units dedicated to Ocean Drive. In the last 3 years, here's where we've evolved to. There are now 12 cops assigned, 2 full squads, working full-time on Ocean Drive. For close to 2 years, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, during the overlap period, roughly 2.5 hours in the evening into the overnight, until 1 in the morning, we take there's an overlap where the afternoon shift is working and the midnight shift is working, and we move roughly 24 police officers down to Ocean Drive to do to have an additional presence and do a lot of enforcement, which I will talk about. We continue to have periodic surges of narcotics and crime suppression team efforts in that area. The city has invested in park rangers to patrol Lummis Park. We've done a lot of good work with the Ocean Drive Association, and the latest is the Ocean Drive Block Patrol, which will probably be talked about today, which is a civilian private security outfit that works closely with our officers who are assigned to Ocean Drive. You folks have funded a full squad of homeless liaison officers, a sergeant and 4. They spend roughly 50% of their time in the entertainment district. Ocean Drive today gets the greatest concentration of police resources night after night in the city. One of the things that I particularly wanted to speak about is that one of the operators of one of the clubs last week, and again, it's in the aftermath of all that's occurred and emotions are high, talked about the need for the cops to be proactive. And I'm here to tell you that the cops are proactive, and any criticism that they are not is unfair and ill-informed. Yesterday, I supplied to you folks, the manager supplied to you an LTC summarizing everything we've done in the last 3 years. But early on in the LTC, you'll see that the first exhibit is some of the proactivity since January 1st. Now, these are not officers assigned to regular patrol. These are resources specifically assigned or surged to Ocean Drive. Those teams have made 488 arrests since the first of the year. They've written 2,700 uniform traffic citations. Those are car stops on Ocean Drive. They've taken 674 police reports. And again, those are not regular patrol officers. That's the Ocean Drive squads. That's the teams that we put in place for enhanced staffing for our major weekends, such as Spring Break, Memorial Day, President's Day, Art Deco weekend, those things. And very specifically, it's the cops who are assigned there on the overlap. All right, now what has happened in the last 3 years by these proactive cops? Well, crime is down citywide by 13% in the last 3 years and 6% in the last year. Why is that? Because of the hard work of the men and women in my department. But also because we specifically targeted the areas where we have the biggest crime challenges and because of the focus on Ocean Drive. If you look at the charts that we supplied to you yesterday, in 2016, in the entertainment district, crime is down 10.5%. Within Ocean Drive area, which we define as the beach, the park, Ocean Drive, and the 100 blocks, or the finger streets, within the Ocean Drive area, crime is down 16% in 16. In the first 4 months of 17, a reduction of 18% in the entertainment district and 11% in Ocean Drive. Now, I love Mitch, and he gets up here and he talks about how crime is rampant. In fact, statistically, crime is down in the area. The question, of course, in the policy discussion for you folks is whether or not crime is down enough and the incidents are at the level at which they exist are tolerable. But we are trending in the right direction, and we are spending a lot of police resources on Ocean Drive. Now, very quickly, in the LTC that I provided you last night, I provided earlier LTCs from the last 3 years about all the innovative efforts the city and the department has done in the last 3 years. Very quickly, December 16th of 2014, we gave you an LTC that referenced the creation of the first Ocean Drive squad. That was in late 14. In 15, that team made 797 arrests in the Ocean Drive area. We also put in place the temporary beach barriers to discourage people from going out on the beach at night, and we added a second homeless liaison officer. In September of 15, we announced the deployment of the overlap shift, which has been in place for roughly 2 years. That means, by the way, what that means is that on an overlap period, the cops who are assigned to patrol other areas of the city, that extra level of protection is moved to Ocean Drive. They leave Area 3 and Area 2 to go down to Ocean Drive to provide the extra security umbrella for Ocean Drive. In March of 15th, we announced the plans for high-impact weekends that included road closures. We began doing road closures on major weekends on Ocean Drive from 7th to 11th Street. In July of 16, we announced, and you folks later funded in this fiscal year, the creation of an Area 4 command with a captain. You folks funded 12 additional positions within Area 4, and you funded a full homeless outreach team of a sergeant and 4 officers. Again, they spend roughly 50% of their time dealing with homelessness issues in the Ocean Drive area. In January of 17, we announced the formation of the second Ocean Drive squad. So we now have police officers assigned full-time to Ocean Drive on the midnight shift 7 days a week. And the overlap for those 2 shifts is Saturday, so we have double coverage on Saturday. And in January of 17, the manager gave you an LTC that summarized the 10-point plan. The 10-point plan included very significant input on a number of issues involving the police department. Perhaps the biggest, I think, is the effort around lighting. Fabulous work by Parks, Public Works, and the PD to strategically find, and we've added significant lighting at significant expense to the area. So any suggestion that the cops aren't being proactive is deeply troubling to me and terribly unfair to these police officers. Now, I wanted to illustrate the challenges, and we pulled some video from this past weekend. If we can cue it up. And I'll set the stage. These are 2 incidents. Now, this past weekend is a rather unremarkable weekend for Ocean Drive. It's a summer weekend. We're past the high season. We have one big weekend coming up, and that's in July 4th, but this time of year is a quieter time of year. Saturday and Sunday night, we did okay. Friday night, we had 2 incidents, and I'm going to show you a bit of video from each. The first one, for some reason, made television, one of the television stations, we deployed a taser to arrest somebody. The second, you could freeze that, Ernie? The second one resulted in 2 more police officers being injured. But both of them show us a little bit about how we police Ocean Drive and the challenges we face. The first video I'm going to run, and please note that the audio transmissions are not sequenced to the video. In fact, in the first one, I am certain that the audio transmissions are behind what you're seeing, but they're informative. In the first one, you'll see 9th and Ocean, which is the vortex, the center of everything, okay, the highest activity. And you'll see officers doing what we do on the overlap is we stop a lot of cars. The officers see a traffic infraction, and they try to stop the car. And it gets dangerous very quickly because the driver does not take the car out of gear. When he doesn't do what he's told, they instruct him to get out of the car, and he does not. And they make a decision, which cops do all the time on the street, that they're going to remove him from the car. And it gets pretty dangerous. So I wanted to show it if you can run it, and you will be some audio portion. Ernie, if you can run it.
From the 15.
Kiosk
900 block Ocean.
900 block of Ocean. Attention all units 315, 900 block of Ocean, 900 block of Ocean, drive for 1118. Entertainment units will respond at 2323.
No problem.
1104 about all units Kirk's here. 1118 back. Attention all units 315, 900 block of Ocean, 900 block of Ocean, drive for 1118. Entertainment units will respond at 2323. Raise
Give me the air! Give me the air!
Stella QTH.
900 block of Ocean, not in custody.
Subject not in custody. The air was already held. 2325.
Hold the air.
Pause that, Ernie. Now, any use of force, okay, in real life is not pleasant to watch, okay? This isn't, you know, and by the way, we're not a video production company. We're the police department. We just put this together yesterday, so we couldn't sequence the stuff. But the point here is, one of the ways we control behavior on Ocean Drive is do the best we can to address traffic conditions, okay? And by the way, it's one of the things that if you talk to the Ocean Drive operators, they talk about, is this intersection of vehicles and pedestrians, the partying that occurs out of cars, and all of those challenges. So when we have the extra cops during the overlap, we do a lot of this, and hence the statistics I showed you. We have a second clip segment here that involves the body camera, and when you watch it closely, you'll see that an officer is struggling to put the car in park before it drives away while simultaneously trying to arrest the driver.
All units in Tampa will be here to further advise. Unless 1065 or 1118 keys up, no unit key up.
Here you go,
I copy.
1065, let me have the air for 1 second. Let's start fire rescue on a 3. Black male, conscious and breathing. Taser, COP. Supervisor and crime scene to the 900 block of Ocean. Job rescue response down to 100 block of Ninth Street, 15 with us, 9th Street and Ocean. We're going to need a gurney to restrain this extremely combative individual.
Okay, stop it, Ernie. The good news in that event is that no one was seriously injured, okay? Now, the second event is much more serious, and when you cue this up, you'll see the challenge we have. So a car is stopped in the middle of the block, on the 900 block, parked, blocking traffic, okay? And people are hanging out. The cops see this condition, begin to address it. You'll see the driver start to drive away. And then what happens, which is illustrative of the challenge we have out there, then what happens is the crowd follows as the car is stopped. The crowd interferes in the actions of the officers to make an arrest. And in the end, the officers have to arrest 2 people who are interfering. In that arrest, okay, there is a struggle. and 2 cops are injured. And today those cops are home, one with a hand injury, a broken hand, one with a shoulder injury. His status is undetermined. They are the 5th and 6th police officers injured in violent struggles on the Ocean Drive area in the last month who are out on injured reserve and not available to us. And 5 of the 10 officers assigned to Ocean Drive are now on injured reserve and not available to us. So let's roll the tape, Ernie. You'll see the police car with the flashing lights coming up. The driver sees it and decides to drive on, and he's stopped midway down the block by the police car. Now, it's a little hard to see. Everything is going to occur on the sidewalk or to the right of the sidewalk to the north. It's the struggle with this person that's going to result in 2 officers being injured. So in this environment, the cops have to be concerned about the crowds when they take enforcement action. They have to be very concerned.
1136.
So 50 east of the 900 block of Ocean Drive.
See the white pants? That's the struggle.
Attention all units, 315, 900 block of Ocean Drive, 900 block of Ocean Drive per 1136. Units to respond on 3. 1113, 1133.
Multiple units here now.
Units, continuing on 315. 315 needed, 900 block of Ocean Drive. 1124, QSM.
We need multiple units for the call control.
QSM, more units.
963.
Here, 963.
I copy and rough from the station. Some additional units.
QSL, units continue on a 3. 1103. All units are not to the 315, 900 block of Ocean Drive. Clear to respond routine at this time, clearing at 350 Miami Beach. Units, continue on 315. 315 needed, 900 block of Ocean Drive.
Okay, and here's a little body camera view of what the immediate aftermath of the arrest and what the cops have to contend with the crowd that surges to the scene. So, Ernie, run that. And by the way, there'll be some foul language in this.
Back up! Back up! I'm not going to tell you right now. Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! I'm like, hey,
Why is he arrested?
back
Why
up!
is he in cuffs?
Listen.
What the fuck is going on, man?
You need to calm down, my man. You need to calm down.
Answer my question.
I don't need to answer because I wasn't here for that. What you need to do is calm down. At the end of the day, it's going to get ugly, all right? So just back up. Hey, set it up right here. Set it up right here. Back up. Back up.
Are you gonna go to jail with him?
Clear the block. Hey, clear it, man. I'm telling you right now. Clear the block. Y'all obstructing the roadway.
We're leaving.
Nah, y'all ain't leaving. You're attacking, but you ain't leaving. Let's go. Block it. You're on the middle of the roadway. Let's go. Cross to the other side. Cross to the other side. Let's go. Cross the other side. Yo, get on the other side. You're in the middle of the roadway. I ain't gonna.
So I appreciate this opportunity, Mayor. The point I wanted to make is your cops are working hard out there, and they're having an impact, okay? But we are at a place where we're pretty much out of resources to do more. And the resources that are dedicated to Ocean Drive are not being dedicated elsewhere. Now, I hear all kinds of conversation, if the cops only did this, if they walked up and down the block. The cops know better than anybody in this room how to deploy along those 2 or 3 blocks. For instance, we have to keep an eye on 9th and Ocean at all times. That's the first priority. Okay? And they do go up and down the block, and when we surge with the resources with the overlap, we are allowed to do more aggressive policing in terms of stopping cars and all those kinds of stuff. However, anyone who thinks that the cops aren't working hard, open invitation. Join me at 3 a.m. on a Saturday morning, okay, and we'll go for a walk, and you can talk to the cops about what they're doing and how they're deployed, and they'll explain to you. But in whatever discussion that follows, I think it's my responsibility to add to the conversation what we're doing and that the cops are out there working hard. They're not discouraged. They're motivated. They're not discouraged by wearing body cameras either, as you can see. Okay, our cops are out there working. All right, and they will continue to do so. The one other thing I wanted to throw out for the purpose of the public policy discussion, the one thing we haven't really tried, okay, is a different traffic pattern for Ocean Drive. An option might be to go to one lane of traffic, eliminate all parking, discourage this volume of traffic on Ocean Drive. That would require quite a bit of thinking about how that would be done. There are significant consequences. Another option is turn Ocean Drive into a pedestrian mall, but that creates its own set of challenges with regard to pickups, deliveries, that kind of thing. And it's also would be very labor intensive and probably require a lot of reconfiguration of streets and bollards and that kind of stuff, which could get very expensive. So there are some other options out there to consider. But I appreciate the opportunity, Mayor, to let you know about the kinds of challenges that we're facing.
Thank you, Chief. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to the dais for questions for you. But I have two quick questions I'd like you to address. Number one, there was a lot of talk out there about our use of non-lethal force, right, and the fact that should we be using rubber bullets or these various things that I've been hearing about. I'd like you to address that. And then the second part of my question, Chief, is the action I have here that I propose that's on the table is to let the people of Miami Beach decide whether they would like to shut those bars at 2 a.m. that are outside on Ocean Drive, obviously not the hotels and not inside on Ocean Drive. I'd like to have your opinion, your professional opinion. How do you believe that would affect, help, hinder your job, and maybe make any difference?
Okay. With regard to less lethal weapons, our department has an arsenal of less lethal weapons. In fact, we expanded by one additional weapon in the last year, which you folks know about, the beanbag shotgun. We don't carry or use rubber bullets. American policing doesn't really use them. I think they're actually barbaric. It's not an option. But we have a panoply of less lethal weapons that are generally considered the state-of-the-art and the standard in the business, and our cops are properly trained on them. With regard, by the way, I want to make a point. There's two sort of celebrated incidents that occurred in the last year for which there is video and a big deal was made. One was the homicide that occurred at the News Cafe at 6:30 in the morning, and another was Mitch Novak's video of the bumper car incident that occurred on 9th Street at 6:30 in the morning. All the efforts that we're doing right now wouldn't put this volume of cops on Ocean Drive at 6:30 in the morning. I want to make sure everybody knows that. We can't afford that, and so that's just a perspective I wanted you to have. Obviously, and by the way, included in the LTC is the analysis we did a year ago. We did an analysis from June 1, 15 to June 1, 16. It took a lot of work as to time of day. And you'll recall the time of day analysis showed, with regard to violent crime, 2 to 5 a.m. is the biggest challenge. Obviously, if the bars close at 2 a.m. rather than 5, and people begin to go home at 1:30, 2 a.m. rather than 5:30, there's a 3-hour window where it makes logical sense to me that there would be less policing challenges and less crime. So I think that's fairly logical to anybody who looks at it. Okay. And that would, I believe, be a likely outcome.
Right, thank you. Now let's open up to the dais for questions. Who has questions for our chief? We're not taking questions from the public. We're taking questions from the commissioners. Any of our commissioners have any questions? No? Okay. All right. And then what I'd like to do now, Chief, thank you very much for the great work of your department, and thank you for that information. What I'd like to do now is, because this is not a public forum, and because of the fact that if this does get approved, all the public of Miami Beach will have the opportunity to vote in November, and they can decide on whether this happens or it doesn't. But still, in spirit of public debate, what I'd like to do is we'd have 3 people that are in favor and 3 people that are against. If each 3 of you would like to stand up, we'll pick 3. 4 against. It's up to you. If Tom, I thought you were coming up. Okay, it's hard to move. If no one would like to speak, Mitch, we heard from you. Okay, you can speak, Mitch, if you'd like. Let's do 3 and 3. It would be fine. Mr. Takmas.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. For the record, Alex Tatsmas, Sutton Bowen, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard in Miami, representing the Ocean Drive Association. Mr. Mayor, I'll be brief because there's been a lot of discussion already and a lot of written and verbal discussion about it. I just want to make 3 points. And it's a question of decision-making. Ocean Drive Association is not against having the public have their say and vote for what is right. What we are against at this point is rushing to make a decision and rushing to take a commission action before a comprehensive study is done on a really complex subject. With regard to decision-making, both in government and in business, there are some keys to making the best decisions, both among top leaders in government and business. One of the key issues is you never make a decision until you've done a thorough analysis of the facts and the issues presented for you. That can be the case whether you're the mayor of a city or you're the CEO of Exxon. The decision is the same. Do your research, do your analysis, and before you come up with a decision, make sure you thoroughly understand the issues at hand and then make your decision. This is a complex issue. We haven't yet studied the matter carefully enough to make a decision at this point, and I think it's premature. So far, no one has presented any evidence linking a 2 a.m. liquor cutoff and a reduction in crime. If anybody has that evidence, we would love to hear it. Again, there has been no link whatsoever shown reducing crime and 2 a.m. Secondly, another key issue in terms of making proper decisions is decisions aren't made in a vacuum. So it's always important to look at the downside, the negatives of any decision you're going to make. In this circumstance, a bad piece of legislation or a bad decision could have irreparable damage to South Beach and South Beach's global nightlife brand. This is not an overstatement. I think it's something which most tourism executives would tell you. It could have a disastrous effect. And then lastly, I would just indicate that one issue about this item that has not been discussed too much so far is the 6/7 requirement to reverse the ordinance, which is highly unusual. I haven't seen that very often in all my years of government work, and I would strongly recommend that not be included. But again, at this point, I would just indicate no link has been shown between 2 in the morning and a crime reduction. That needs to be shown before we move forward. Once that's shown, perhaps we'll support it, Mayor, but at this point, we're not ready to do so.
Thank you, Alex. Now, we'd like someone who's in favor of letting the people vote on this. Mitch, do you want to talk? Feel free.
Yeah, I just want to state that the voters already addressed this issue, and the outcome was very clear. But I also want to elaborate on what the chief said. You remove the party carnival-like atmosphere from the street. That's going to be less opportunity for residents, visitors, and more importantly, our police to be exposed to possible situations of conflict. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Okay. Mr. Mayor, would you like to speak?
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, members of the Commission, Neeson, Kazan, Ackerman, representing Mango's Tropical Cafe.
Generating revenue for all you guys. Man.
Don't count that on my time, Mr. Mayor. Mango's has been in business on Ocean Drive for 26 years, and the Clevelander, which I do not represent, has been there for 30 years. They were part of Ocean Drive during what were known as the good old days. What has happened is a situation has evolved in terms of nightlife in this community, and there's no evidence to show that those establishments are part of the problem. I do acknowledge that there is some restraint that's needed overall in terms of the activity in South Beach. That's my personal opinion. And I would compliment the police on the job that they are doing. But what is proposed is wrong for the following reasons. Number one, it is not a ban on the sale of alcoholic beverages at 2 a.m. What it does, because it is limited to outdoor Ocean Drive properties that are not in hotels, limits it to 3 properties. Mango's is one of those 3. This is selective and is spot zoning and is singling them out. There has been no evidence shown that these establishments are the source of problems. In fact, if you look at what the chief has shown, and the chief actually has done a good job in reducing crime in the area, these were outside the premises, not by customers of the premises. So that allows many other establishments on Ocean Drive to continue to stay open until 5 a.m. and serve alcoholic beverages. And most of those, which may be hotels, are principally bars. It also does not prohibit that on Washington Avenue, Collins Avenue, Espanola Way, anywhere else in the city of Miami Beach. Liquor package stores, which may, or convenience stores, which may be where the people who are hanging out in the parks creating the trouble are getting them from. So this is not a solution to that problem. Any solution should be viewed more comprehensively, should apply citywide, and not apply selectively. And I think it merits consideration to do it in that fashion. It would be singling out these particular businesses, which historically have been a part of Ocean Drive and actually have been good neighbors and part of Ocean Drive in a positive way for many, many years. And so I asked you to reconsider that. The final thing is, I do not believe on this, and frankly almost any other issue, it is appropriate to submit it to a citywide ballot. You, the decision makers, are the ones who have to weigh the positives and the negatives and the effects and not take issues selectively and put them up on the ballot. It's your responsibility, and I think it's one that you are fully capable of undertaking seriously and with good due deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Neeson. Thank you. Anyone else to speak? Great.
Frank Del Vecchio, 301 Ocean Drive. My wife and I have been residents of Ocean Drive for 21 years. I can't believe it. Full-time residents. And we've seen the destruction of our brand, the rejection by international tourists and tourists unaware when they come here who think they're going to go to a beautiful Art Deco district to find a crime scene on Ocean Drive. I'm a retired attorney, and I'm astounded by the two attorneys now representing commercial interests on Ocean Drive. The first one, Attorney Tatchmas, a very able attorney, stated that it will do irreparable damage to reduce the hours to 2 a.m. The only irreparable damage that will be done will be to their income from liquor sales between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. I think the chief has demonstrated that those are high crime areas. Attorney Kasdan pointed out that there is no evidence to show that those establishments are part of the problem, namely Mango's at 9th and Ocean, Clevelander, and one other. In fact, the chief has just testified and shown videos that the intensive high crime areas to which criminals and those whose behavior is influenced whenever a policeman tries to prevent a violation are precisely in those areas. Now, I think you have before you this particular item, which would put on the November 7 ballot a question as to whether or not to roll back outdoor hours to 2, preserving the opportunity for bona fide hotels, of which there are many, to continue to serve indoors to 5. We know that under the state's hotel regulation requirements, hotels are required to provide internal security. So we have a much higher probability of preventing illegal behavior indoors. And since the alcohol service would be indoors, we do not have the attraction outdoors, which attracts crowds and automobiles. You also have before you the same ordinance. I don't know whether it's been pulled or in the alternative to this.
Can you answer that?
Yes?
You're talking about the ordinance to refer to the planning board?
Yes, correct.
Now, so my feeling is that if we were to pass this and let the people decide in November, then I would be willing to pull that today and just defer to the people in November.
I see. Well, in either case, the ordinance provides, the ordinance with its referral to the planning board under our regulations requires an analysis to be made indicating what the cost benefit to the city would be and what the consequences of that would be. So we would be able to get the full picture in either case that these attorneys are asking for of true cost to the city, the reduction in the overall economic benefit to our tourist industry by this particular action. So I think this should be enacted. There'll be ample opportunity for analysts between now and November 7 and for the industry to make the case. I think it's a legitimate case can be made, and I would favor putting it on the ballot and giving everybody an opportunity to weigh in on it. And if this doesn't get enacted, then I think you should enact the referral right now to the planning board. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, last speaker.
Good morning. Is that working? Yeah.
Yes.
Mike Palma, Brio Investment Group. We own the Clevelander and the Essex House Hotel. I want to speak to the public on behalf of the efforts so that we're clear what this commission and what the owners of Ocean Drive have put together over the last 9 months, so that it's not lost in translation, because there's a big mistake here blaming the business and not knowing what we've done, because we want a clean and safe community as much as everyone on this dais does, as much as every resident wants. We entered into good faith in this 10-point plan, and we immediately went to work. And I want you to know that I personally went to work and took it upon myself as a operator of the Clevelander to get other businesses involved and to get money dedicated to put more security in the street, to get better management of the street, and to get a better PR campaign for the street. So there's been a lot of efforts put forth, and I would hate to see that go to waste and not keep momentum going, because we are onto something. We do agree that things have to happen. I mentioned to all the commissioners on the dais that the key is, as maybe Frank is talking about, is pulling back. Let's get the right people in the right room, and let's figure out how to attack the criminal issue. We all saw the vehicles and what's happening on the street. And I've been there 17 years. I see it every day and every night. We have a terrible problem on our streets on the vehicle side. So I implore the chief of police to look into that as a solution. And I want everyone on the public to know that we are in support of cleaning up the MXE entirely and working with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. On the dais, does anyone have any comments, questions, discussion? Happy to.
Sure.
Anybody? Commissioner Malikoff?
I think that I agree with what Mike just said from the Clevelander. You all have been working to help improve Ocean Drive with the 10-point plan. Nevertheless, the police chief also mentioned that violent crime is highest between 2 and 5 a.m. I think it's clear. As far as the financial analysis, this was up on the screen before, that shows that we spent almost $1 million between 2 and 5 a.m., $814,812 annually to keep Ocean Drive safe between 2 and 5 a.m. And from the sales of the alcohol between 2 and 5 a.m., the Miami Beach collects in resort taxes almost $200,000, $197,000. So you can see Miami Beach has a net loss from that. But to me, although I think that's important, financially speaking on behalf of the city, what's more important to me is I do not believe, and I've said this before, I don't believe anything good happens between 2 and 5 in the morning. I just think that 2 a.m. is a good cutoff time for alcohol sales. We see it in other parts of the city where there are complaints where clubs have opened near residential areas, and they're having trouble between 2 and 5 a.m. with fights and drunken brawls out on the streets in residential areas. I believe that 2 a.m. makes sense, and I think the voters should vote on it.
Thank you. Commissioner Grieco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to vote for this, and I'm going to vote for this. I think we have a sophisticated electorate. You know, they were sophisticated enough to elect all of us up here, and I think that it'll provide 5 months of debate and 5 months of educated debate.
Also, some great establishments on Ocean Drive and through the MXC district that have been great corporate citizens, and I'll single out Mike Palma in particular, because he's run point for Ocean Drive and had to bear the brunt of this, who's really been a really great activist for Ocean Drive. But he's got neighbors that aren't so cooperative. And if they don't fall in line, I'll personally vote for 2 a.m. come November. But I think there's a lot more that we need to do. If this passes, we have 5 months to educate the public, to try some programs to see if we can get noise and crowd control under wraps. And then at that point, in November, the voters can decide to roll it back or not. So I'm gonna move forward with recommending that this go to the voters at 2 a.m. But I encourage our commission to continue to be vigilant on a lot of other things that are just as important as a 2 a.m. rollback.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me just say a couple of quick words to everybody before we take a vote. First of all, Mike, I commend you also for doing a lot of great work out there, and it doesn't go unnoticed, and it's not easy. You hear the old expression, herding cats, okay? It's hard. I get it. I deal with it all the time myself, okay? And we do it in a public setting. Sometimes it's nice and sweet, and sometimes it's aggressive and a little bit bitter. Let me just say this. I said it to the media, I said it to the press, and I'm going to say it to all of you publicly. This is not a Memorial Day weekend problem. This is a problem we have 52 weeks a year. The issues we have on Ocean Drive have taken many years to get to this point. It didn't happen in one weekend. It doesn't happen in one demographic group of people, because everybody is welcome to Miami Beach. I don't care who you are, what your skin color is. I don't care what nation you come from. I don't care what religion you believe in. Miami Beach is known for, and will be continued to be known for, as the most open and tolerant city in America, and we want to maintain that reputation. The issues we have are all the time. I think like Commissioner Ariola said, and I agree, I don't necessarily know if this is a silver bullet. I don't think so. I think it's one of those things where, God forbid, you have an issue, whether it's a cancer, you need to treat it, but there's other parts of the body you need to treat with it, in a paleo method. In other words, it's not one thing. And we have to do multiple things. I know there's many great ideas on this dais of ideas we got to bring up. Maybe next month, the month after that, some fantastic reforms to really upgrade Ocean Drive, make it a place where families and our residents want to go back to. It's not that today. And I think it's incumbent for us to take action. And I think by bringing it to the people, I think that's the greatest appetite we have right now in this dais. If I felt that we could move forward, personally, you know how I feel, I'd get it done today, and that would be it. But I think that it's a great compromise to bring it to the people, let them decide, let the residents decide. Let the residents decide who's paying for this police force. Let the residents decide who are living in this city. I think that's the most appropriate thing for all of us to do. Commissioner Grieco brought up a very good point. It's important for us to make sure, our city, that this is not a rollback citywide to 2 a.m. It is only specifically on Ocean Drive for open-air establishments. If it were to pass in November. Miami Beach has been known as the fun and sun capital of the world, and it will continue to be, but it's also known as the cultural capital of the world. Things change. Things change. I had friends that own bookstores that don't like Amazon, okay? Businesses change. Businesses have to evolve. And it's up to us to make sure that we allow them to evolve and that we do what's best for our city. So with that, Mr. Clerk, I think it's best if you do a roll call on this vote.
And we have a motion by Commissioner Ariola as amended with a 5/7 vote and a withdrawal of C4M.
Yes.
And we have a second by Commissioner Malakoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Alaman.
Yes.
Commissioner Malakoff.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rosen Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Ariola.
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Grieco.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Motion passes. The item is approved.
Now, let's address the noise. I think we should do it right away. I think it's important. And that is R5T as in Tom, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir. R5T is an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Miami Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 46 of the Code of the City of Miami Beach entitled Environment by amending Article 4 entitled Noise by amending Section 46-157 entitled Exemptions, which modifies those identified exemptions that would constitute unnecessary and excessive noise that is prohibited within Section 46-152 and providing for repealer, severability, codification, and effective date. This is a first reading.
Thank you. Who wants to speak on this from the city to discuss this specific? Alec, would you like to explain to all of us what we're doing?
Alexander Boxner, City Attorney's Office. This is an ordinance amendment specifically within Section 46-157. 46-157 identifies the exemptions for the city's noise ordinance. This is a removal of that provision where it exempts a portion of 5th Street through 15th Street on the west side of Ocean Drive. That is a strike-through. That is the amendment. It's a first reading for that specific aspect. So just as a clarity, that will mean that the noise ordinance will apply to those properties located on 5th to 15th on Ocean Drive.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, this is the first reading, so for time and efficiency, we'll take public comment on the second reading. But from the dais, points, comments, ideas, questions? Commissioner Malikoff?
I think it's absolutely necessary to, if we're going to do anything about the carnival atmosphere, certainly that noise exemption needs not to be in place.
Okay. Commissioner Ariola, please.
I just want to say about the noise. So the 10-point plan, a lot of it actually just took effect June 1st, so we still have to see it played out. And despite being, sort of new regulations regarding noise, there are violators on Ocean Drive. I mean, I was out there recently, and you've got folks in clear violation. So we have an enforcement issue that I know Jimmy and his team are going to take care of. But noise is a real problem on Ocean Drive. I just want to make that clear that I do agree with Mitch. It is obnoxious, the amount of noise that's happening on Ocean Drive. So anything we can do to lower it would be helpful.
Yeah.
Commissioner, I'm sorry.
No, I agree. I think that's a real big issue on Ocean Drive, and the noise is something that we definitely need to remedy.
Commissioner Aliman?
I agree. We definitely need to address the noise, and the noise exemption is the right thing to target.
Thank you. Commissioner, did you have something? Rosa Gonzalez,
So the noise is the problem because we have that loud music and people are walking around and using that loud music as kind of block party music. Is that why we're doing this? This is sponsored by the mayor.
Well, I believe that multiple individuals on almost this have testified to the fact that noise is
Once this passes, this is going to affect every single business on Ocean Drive?
from 5th to 15th Street, yes, Commissioner.
I mean, maybe we should shut down the noise for a finite period, like 90 days. See it. Does it make a difference? Does it shut down the carnival, circus-like atmosphere that Mitch talks about all the time? And if it works, fine. So, if we got the same problems, then we know it's not the noise. At least by process of elimination, we're figuring out what it is, right? Can we add that this would just be like a 90-day thing included? Would there be support for that? Is anyone listening? Yeah, make it, whatever you're going to do in addition to that, just make it a finite thing. Make it 90 days. Let's go in. Do it for 90 days. Be very proactive.
So are you saying similar to my question, then you want to talk about that for second reading? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, let's, look at the 90 days, see what happens.
Okay.
And then if it works, and great. We make it, all the time. You shut it down, you shut it down.
All right.
If it doesn't work, then we know that it's not the noise. But by process of elimination, we'll figure out what the heck it is, right?
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. I don't agree. I like it as is and bring it back for second reading. And if you need to make some adjustments, work with Alec, and hopefully we can all put it together in the bakery and create bread here. Any other? Someone want to move it?
I move the item.
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, you do a roll call on that one?
Commissioner Ariola.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rosa Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Malikoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Alaman.
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Grieco.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Motion carries. Second reading public hearing is scheduled for July 26.